This is the Optoma UHD550 projector. We've only just recently purchased this from Richer Sounds in Plymouth. Great service we had down there. We had a demonstration of the top of the range model, which is the 650. There are three in the range, the 550, 600 and the 650. This is the bottom of the range. This wasn't available for demonstration at the time, but as soon as this was reduced to just below £1,500, I thought now is the time to have a serious look at this. And so we had a demonstration with the 650, largely the same machine, although it does have slightly higher specifications. The image quality from that 650 in the demonstration room was filmic. And that's something that's important to me because I've grown up loving film. I've got 35mm in the home cinema here as well as all the other gauges. So we ordered, on that basis, we ordered the 550. The major difference I've been able to see between the 650 and the 550, apart from a couple of digital things on the menu, is that this has got a different colour wheel in it. And that is presumably why this has got a higher light output, slightly higher than the 600 and the 650. There was something with the projected image when we first screened Dunkirk, Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk. The sky areas were predominantly white rather than the blue they should have been, and there was all sorts of digital blocking going on in there. I couldn't work out what that was. I went through everything on the projector over several sessions. I removed all the digital trickery things in the menu, which I do with new equipment generally anyway, but nothing got rid of this entirely, of this digital blocking. But I did turn off HDR in this and it almost eliminated it, but not completely, and it had the adverse effect of turning the picture into a more colourless, less involving image. So that wasn't the solution. In the end, it's got to be something on the player. Now I've ended up with two Panasonic UHD Blu-ray players, and both of those had their HDR output by default set to on. As soon as I set it to off, it was a eureka moment. The picture quality was better than it had been at any time, and possibly better than that 650 demonstration in the Richer Sounds demonstration room, where they had ambient light. They only have an ordinary drop-down screen with a slight black border, and all those things tend to work against the picture quality. What you ideally want is the deepest black velvet for the surround of the picture that you can get, and that does fool the human eye into thinking the contrast ratio is higher than it really is. So in here I always try and wrap the projected image around with a black velvet movable masking, and that helps. Other things to bear in mind is that on standard Blu-ray discs, brilliant colour has to be minimised as far as possible. I think the lowest setting is 1. Otherwise, in white areas you tend to get all these pink spots, and that's just something that seems to be incompatible. The immediate thing that is obvious when you install it in your home cinema is that the projected image is aiming up. Now that is an inconvenience for those of us that like it installed properly at the back of the screening room and projecting on the screen down at the front. Now the image is very high. This has got image shift on the menu, which you can reduce to a lower height as possible. That helps, and it's got an image shift in here at the front on this dial just here, and you can reduce that, I believe it says in the manual, by up to 15% on the projected image. It's still a bit too high, which means you can't have this projector as high as you would like in your projection box, because the manual does say do not tilt it, this will invalidate your warranty. I've spoken to Optoma, and you can use these adjustable legs at the back to their maximum tilt to get the projector aiming as low as possible, and we've managed to achieve a compromise in here which is perfectly acceptable. Now the other thing that was obvious was I was not getting Dolby Digital sound out of this, nor Digital Theatre System sound, which is more commonly known by the acronym DTS. Now the optical out on the projector is it must be running through the internal speakers, because it's stripping out the Dolby Digital and DTS signal. So all you're getting through to your amplifier is Dolby Stereo, which is known as Dolby Pro Logic for the home market, which I suppose is a 4.0 stereo system. Of course DTS, Dolby Digital, are 5.1 up to 7.1 these days. And that means you have to run an optical output from your UHD Blu-ray player into your amplifier. Now on my first UHD player that I had on my initially set up to my 4K television, that was not an option. All it had was HDMI output, which meant I needed to purchase a second machine, and that one had to have an optical output. Unfortunately they do exist. You've just got to be careful when you buy one, because it seems that most of them now are just coming with HDMIs, and that's not really much good to those of us with great older equipment that we still want to use. So something to bear in mind. I've got the contrast set to +10. I've got the brightness set to around -3, so I'm playing around with that still, but generally -4, -3, -2 seems to give the best contrast range of the contrast set to +10. Colour I've got to set to about +10, +15, but I've not settled on that. It's probably different for various discs. Because I'm in a proper screening room, I don't have ambient light in here ordinarily. I've got set to eco mode, which is the lowest mode of the lamp. Should mean you've got increased lamp life, but should also mean you get better contrast. So altogether it's an excellent machine. There is, apart from those few little foibles which don't really matter once you get to grips on them, it's an excellent machine, and for those wanting a proper home cinema effect as near to 35mm as you can get, then one of these Optomas is probably the way to go. This is the Optoma UHD550 projector. We've only just recently purchased this from Richer Sounds in Plymouth. Great service we had down there. We had a demonstration of the top of the range model, which is the 650. There are three in the range, the 550, 600 and the 650. This is the bottom of the range. This wasn't available for demonstration at the time, but as soon as this was reduced to just below £1,500, I thought now is the time to have a serious look at this. And so we had a demonstration with the 650, largely the same machine, although it does have slightly higher